Ever wondered about those eerie creatures that lurk in the shadows of Japanese folklore? Yokai, they're called. Supernatural beings embodying everything from mischievous spirits to terrifying monsters. And then there are the Yurei, the ghosts of the departed, often restless and seeking closure for their unfinished business in the mortal realm. Now let me take you on a journey into the heart of one such chilling encounter. Picture this. A moonlit night in a small village surrounded by dense forests. I was with my friends, laughing and chatting, unaware of the legends that whispered among the rustling leaves. Legend spoke of a yokai known as the Hon Onna, a woman who appeared as a beautiful stranger in the dead of night, luring unsuspecting souls into the woods with her enchanting song. Her true form, however, was that of a skeletal being, adorned in the remains of her victims. As we laughed and joked, suddenly, a haunting melody filled the air. It was enchanting yet strangely unnerving. My friends, entranced, began following the sound deep into the forest. Panic gripped me as I tried to stop them, but their ears were deaf to my warnings. In the heart of the woods, the melody stopped abruptly. Silence engulfed us, and a bone-chilling chill settled in the air. My friends turned to me, their faces twisted in terror, but before I could react, their forms contorted and melted away, revealing grotesque skeletons beneath. I stumbled backward, horrified as the Hon Onna emerged from the darkness, her skeletal visage leering at me with hollow eyes. Frozen with fear, I felt her icy grip on my shoulder, and as I turned, she whispered in a haunting voice, "Join us." Just as her grasp tightened, I jolted awake, covered in cold sweat, safe in my room. Relief washed over me until I heard a faint, alluring melody drifting through the window. Trembling, I realized it wasn't a dream. As I turned, there stood the Hon Onna, her skeletal form beckoning me with a chilling smile. And just as I thought I was safe, a cold hand brushed against my shoulder, sending shivers down my spine. But when I looked back, there was no one there. A remote village nestled among rolling hills, far from the bustle of the city. At the heart of this village lies an ancient well, its stone walls weathered by time, shrouded in an air of mystery. Legends whispered among the villagers spoke of Okiku, a vengeful spirit said to reside in the depths of that very well. They say she was a young servant girl, unfairly accused of a crime she didn't commit. In her despair, she met a tragic end, thrown down the well by the very ones who framed her. As night falls in the village, an eerie silence blankets the surroundings. I found myself drawn to the well, intrigued by the whispers of the village elders and the warnings to steer clear of it after dark. But curiosity got the better of me, and against my better judgment, I approached the ancient structure. Moonlight cast faint shadows upon the moss-covered stones as I peered down into the well's depths. A chill ran down my spine as I heard a faint voice, mournful yet filled with rage, echoing from the darkness below. "1, 2, where's the third?" the voice murmured, sending shivers down my spine. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to retreat, but an invisible force held me in place. Suddenly, pale hands emerged from the well's depths, grasping at the stone rim. With trembling limbs, I watched as Okiku's spectral figure emerged, her eyes hollow yet burning with an otherworldly fury. I stumbled backward, fear gripping me like icy claws, but it was too late. Okiku's voice echoed around me, counting relentlessly, each count sending chills down my spine. 3, 2, 1, found you. Just as her spectral form lunged forward, ready to claim me, I woke up gasping for air, drenched in sweat. Relief washed over me until I heard a faint, mournful voice counting from outside my window. Trembling, I realized it wasn't a dream. Okiku's ghostly figure stood outside, her eyes fixed on me. And just as I thought I was safe within the confines of my room, a cold, damp hand touched my shoulder, and a chilling whisper reached my ear. But when I turned, there was no one there. In the village, whispers of strange happenings near the well spread like wildfire. People spoke in hushed tones about mysterious disappearances, with some claiming to have seen shadowy figures lurking around the well at night. I heard tales of villagers venturing near the well, only to vanish without a trace, leaving behind nothing but an unsettling silence. One witness, an elderly woman, recounted a bone-chilling tale of her encounter near the well. She spoke of a moonless night when she heard eerie whispers coming from the direction of the ancient structure. She described seeing a pale, ghostly figure emerge from the depths, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The woman fled in terror, but the memory haunted her, etched into her mind like a nightmare. Another villager, a young boy, claimed he saw shimmering lights dancing around the well late one evening. As he approached, the lights converged into ghostly shapes that seemed to beckon him closer. The boy, paralyzed with fear, turned and ran, feeling an icy presence trailing just behind him, as if something unseen was reaching out from the shadows. Despite the villagers' warnings and tales of the unexplained, there were those who dared to investigate, hoping to unravel the mysteries surrounding the well. Some said they felt an invisible force pulling them closer, compelling them to peer into its depths, while others reported hearing eerie whispers that seemed to echo their own thoughts. And as I listened to these accounts, a shiver ran down my spine, for I too felt a strange pull toward the well, a curiosity tinged with an inexplicable fear. But just when I thought these tales were mere superstitions, a faint whisper echoed in my ear, a chilling voice counting in a mournful tone. I turned, heart pounding, only to find the room empty. The whispers grew louder, the counting relentless, and as I looked in the mirror, I saw a pale, ghostly reflection standing behind me, its eyes fixed on mine. And just as I thought I was alone in the room, a cold hand brushed against my shoulder and a bone-chilling whisper reached my ear. But when I turned, there was no one there. Legend had it that Okiku was a humble servant girl working in the household of a powerful lord. She was kind-hearted and gentle, winning the admiration of many, including the lord's son who harbored feelings for her. However, the lord's son was engaged to another, and his affection for Okiku grew, leading to jealousy and treachery within the household. One fateful day, a valuable family heirloom, a set of 10 precious plates, went missing from the lord's estate. Blame fell upon Okiku, accused of stealing the plates by the jealous rivals within the household who sought to ruin her. Despite her protests and pleas of innocence, Okiku was tortured and interrogated, enduring unspeakable horrors in an attempt to extract a confession. When she steadfastly maintained her innocence, the Lord's wrath reached its peak. In a fit of rage and frustration, Okiku was thrown down the ancient well on the estate grounds, her pleas for mercy falling on deaf ears as she plummeted into the darkness below. The villagers whispered of hearing her screams echoing through the night, of her anguished cries for justice as she descended into the depths of the well. It was said that her spirit lingered, consumed by vengeance and a burning desire for retribution against those who wronged her. The manifestations tied to Okiku's tragic tale were spine-chilling. Some claimed to hear her sorrowful cries carried on the wind. Have you ever heard the tales of Tsukumogami? Legends speak of spirits inhabiting objects that have existed for over 100 years, gaining souls and a consciousness of their own. It's a concept that seems straight out of a fantastical story, doesn't it? But what if I told you, sometimes reality can be stranger than fiction? Let me take you back to a time when I stumbled upon an antique mirror in my family's attic. It was an elegant piece, with intricate designs etched into its frame. Intrigued by its history, I decided to place it in my room. At first, everything seemed normal. The mirror stood quietly on my wall, reflecting the room around it. But as the days passed, peculiar things started to occur. I'd catch glimpses of movement in the mirror's reflection, shadows shifting when I wasn't looking. I shrugged it off as my mind playing tricks on me. One evening, as I stared into the mirror, something changed. My reflection twisted, contorting into a grotesque figure with hollow eyes. Shocked, I stumbled back, but the image remained. I blinked and it returned to normal. I tried to convince myself it was a trick of the light, but the unease lingered. The mirror seemed to hold a presence, a quiet watchfulness that made my skin crawl. As weeks went by, the mirror's influence grew. It seemed to beckon me, its surface almost alive with a subtle, chilling energy. I'd wake up in the middle of the night to find it glowing faintly, as if drawing power from the darkness. One day I couldn't resist its call any longer. I reached out to touch its surface, feeling a coldness seep into my fingertips. Suddenly the room spun and I found myself standing in front of a different reflection. It wasn't me. It was the figure from before, staring back with a haunting, knowing gaze. Panic surged through me as I tried to pull away, but I was trapped within the mirror's realm. The figure spoke with a voice that echoed from the depths of the glass, promising to keep me as its companion for the next 100 years. With a jolt, I found myself back in my room, panting and trembling. I turned to the mirror only to find it unchanged, serene in its antique elegance. But as I caught my breath, a shiver ran down my spine. Reflected in its surface were the faint words etched into the frame, awaiting the next century. I realized then that the mirror was not just an object. It was a vessel, holding a spirit that had endured through time. And as I moved away, I couldn't shake the feeling that it watched, patiently waiting for another soul to be ensnared in its ancient gaze. Sure, here's a continuation in that vein. You wouldn't believe how many ordinary things around us might be harboring something sinister. Take the story of a well-worn typewriter, for example. It had been passed down through generations, each owner pouring their thoughts and dreams onto its keys. But after 100 years, it seemed those words weren't the only things trapped within. The typewriter began to act strangely, clicking and clacking on its own, as if someone unseen was typing away. Messages appeared on paper without anyone touching it, haunting words that seemed to accuse the living for the sins of the past. One night I heard whispers emanating from its keys, chilling accusations and grievances that sent shivers down my spine. Then there was the old rocking chair, a beloved piece in a family's home. It had rocked babies to sleep and comforted the weary after long days. But as the century mark approached, its gentle rocking turned into violent sways. People felt a sinister presence whenever they sat upon it, as if an unseen force tried to throw them off. It became a relic feared by all, its once comforting creaks now inducing dread. The most unsettling tale, however, was of a porcelain doll, a cherished childhood toy that survived decades. Its porcelain face held an eerie, unchanging smile. But as the 100 years drew near, the smile turned into a twisted grin. People claimed they heard its porcelain joints creaking in the dead of night, as if it were stalking the corridors, seeking revenge for being discarded and forgotten. Yet, the bone-chilling twist in all these tales wasn't just the object's malevolence. It was the realization that the spirits within weren't seeking revenge on those who owned them. No, they seemed to harbor a grudge against humanity itself, as if centuries of being mere possessions had turned them against anyone who dared to possess or cherish them. As the stories go, these objects vanished without a trace, leaving behind an unsettling silence that reminded everyone to be wary of the everyday things we take for granted. Who knows what else might be silently biding its time, waiting for its chance to seek retribution for a past that they can never forget. I wish I could say these were just stories, mere whispers passed around to spook each other. But there are accounts of these possessed items wreaking havoc on unsuspecting victims. Take the antique pocket watch that found its way into a young boy's possession. At first, it seemed like a stroke of luck, a shiny treasure unearthed from an old chest. But soon, time seemed to warp around it. The watch's hands moved erratically, speeding up or slowing down time itself. The boy found himself trapped in endless loops, reliving moments until they twisted into nightmares. Then there was the weathered painting, a portrait of a somber-faced woman. It hung in a family's home for generations, but after a century, its eyes seemed to follow anyone who dared to glance its way. People reported feeling watched, their sleep plagued by visions of the woman creeping closer and closer until she stepped out of the frame, filling their nights with a haunting presence. The most harrowing tale was of a cursed necklace passed down as an heirloom. Its once dazzling gems turned dark, absorbing light instead of reflecting it. Anyone who wore it felt a suffocating weight on their chest, as if unseen hands tightened around their throat. It seemed to feed on fear, growing stronger with each victim it claimed. But the bone-chilling twist in these horrors wasn't just the item's malevolence. It was the realization that these spirits weren't bound by the objects. No, they roamed freely, seeking new hosts, passing from one person to the next, like a curse that refused to be contained. As these stories circulated, people began to notice odd occurrences around their own possessions. A flickering lamp, a misplaced photograph, a sudden chill in the air, mundane incidents that took on a sinister edge. It made everyone wonder, what if the objects we treasure are just waiting for the right moment to reveal their true, malevolent nature? And what if, by the time we realize it, it's already too late? These eerie tales aren't just cautionary whispers to scare you into checking your closet at night. They serve as warnings about the importance of treating objects with respect. You see, these ancient spirits, these Tsukumogami, they aren't vengeful for no reason. It's not just about a century passing. It's about the emotions, memories, and neglect that seep into these objects over time. The truth is, these spirits were once part of someone's life, cherished or discarded without thought. When we forget the stories behind these items, when we disregard their history and treat them as mere objects, it angers them. It's like they're shouting to be heard, but we ignore their pleas until it's too late. The key, it seems, lies in acknowledging the spirit within these things, respecting their past, their journey through time, their essence. It's about understanding that these aren't just random objects. They're vessels carrying the weight of the past, waiting for recognition. Yet here's the chilling twist in this cautionary tale. What if, by the time we learn to respect these spirits, it's already too late? What if our negligence has awakened something ancient and vengeful, something that's been biding its time for far longer than we can imagine? What if the items we've come to cherish hold more than memories? They hold grudges that can't be appeased. So, as you go about your day surrounded by everyday items and heirlooms, remember this: respect the history, the memories, and the essence within them. Treat them not just as things, but as carriers of stories and emotions. Because in neglecting them, we might just awaken something malevolent that has been waiting patiently for its chance to remind us that even the simplest of objects can hold the darkest of secrets. Hey there, ever wandered into an old, decaying temple where the air feels heavy and the silence speaks volumes? Me too. But what if I told you about a place where the silence isn't just eerie but downright bone-chilling? Picture this: a desolate temple, moss-covered stones, crumbling walls, and whispers of a woman in white haunting its corridors. Legend has it that she was a priestess, wronged by love, and left to wither away within these very walls. Now let's talk about Oni. No, not the fuzzy little creatures from your favorite animated series, but enigmatic and dangerous beings from Japanese folklore. These creatures lurk in the shadows, monstrous in appearance, with horns protruding from their heads and a thirst for mischief. They're said to be drawn to places tainted by sorrow and despair, much like the desolate temple with its tragic history. So there I was, curious and foolhardy, venturing into this forsaken place. The temple stood like a specter against the dimming light, its halls echoing with an unsettling hush. As I crept through the corridors, my heart raced with a mix of trepidation and curiosity. A faint melody drifted from the depths of the temple, a haunting tune that seemed to beckon me forward. Against my better judgment, I followed the sound, each step echoing louder in the silence. That's when I saw her, a figure draped in white, her hair obscuring her face as she swayed to the eerie melody. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. And then, as if on cue, the shadows stirred. The air grew thick with a palpable sense of malevolence, and from the darkness emerged the Oni. Their eyes glowed like fiery embers as they encircled the woman in white, their twisted forms casting grotesque shadows on the walls. Panic surged through me, and I turned to flee, only to find myself face to face with another Oni, its sinister grin sending shivers down my spine. The haunting melody crescendoed, piercing the air, and just as I thought it couldn't get any worse, the woman in white turned towards me, her face a ghastly visage of despair and rage. But here's the twist that will make your skin crawl. As the Oni closed in and the woman in white reached out, her hand passing through me like mist, I realized I was not an unwitting bystander. I was part of the haunting, trapped within the tale to lure the next unsuspecting soul into this cursed place. The chilling realization hit me like a ton of bricks, and the last thing I heard was the echoing laughter of the Oni as darkness swallowed everything whole. And well, let's just say, I've been telling this story ever since, hoping someone might break this curse. But for now, heed my warning. Beware the desolate temples and their tragic histories, for you might just become part of their twisted tales. That was bone-chilling, right? Let me tell you about the legend whispered through the ages, a tale of a tormented woman seeking vengeance after being wronged. They called her Okiku, a young priestess with eyes like pools of moonlight and a smile as gentle as a spring breeze. But behind that serene facade lay a heart shattered by betrayal. She loved a young samurai, but their love was forbidden, destined for tragedy. When their secret was discovered, the samurai abandoned Okiku, leaving her alone in a world that had turned cold and cruel. Consumed by grief and rage, Okiku's love twisted into a thirst for vengeance. She retreated to the desolate temple, forsaken and forgotten by time, where she was said to have spent her final days. It's said that her spirit, fueled by anguish and fury, lingered in that accursed place, forever seeking retribution for the pain inflicted upon her. The tale spoke of her ghostly form, draped in flowing white robes, haunting the temple's corridors. They said her mournful wails echoed through the night, chilling the bones of those who dared to venture near. Many believed she lured the unsuspecting to share in her anguish, seeking to make others taste the bitter torment she endured. And that's where the twist comes in, a twist that will make your skin crawl. As I delved deeper into the legend, uncovering its darkest secrets, I discovered something that shook me to my core. Okiku wasn't just seeking revenge on the samurai who wronged her. She craved companionship in her eternal suffering. You see, every soul she ensnared within the temple walls added to her spectral entourage, condemned to relive her anguish for all eternity. And as I stood in that haunted place, feeling an icy hand brush against my shoulder, I realized I wasn't there to uncover a legend. I was there to become a part of it, a prisoner in her never-ending quest for vengeance. The chilling thought sent a shiver down my spine as I realized the true horror of Okiku's curse. The legend wasn't just a story. It was a warning to those who dared to tread upon the path of the tormented souls seeking solace in the misery of others. And as I struggled to break free from her icy grip, I knew that escaping her grasp would be an impossible feat. So, about those who claim to have crossed paths with the woman in white, let me tell you, their experiences would make your blood run cold. These weren't just spooky campfire stories. They were accounts filled with dread and despair. One man, a traveler passing near the abandoned temple, recounted how he glimpsed her spectral form in the moonlight. He spoke of her eyes, gleaming like polished stones, holding a sorrow that seemed to pierce his very soul. He swore he felt her presence lingering long after she vanished into the night. Then there was a group of friends, adventurers seeking thrills in forbidden places. They dared each other to spend a night within the temple's crumbling walls. At first, they laughed off the legends, dismissing them as mere superstition. But as the night wore on, their laughter turned to hushed whispers of terror. They claimed to have seen her, a figure draped in flowing white, her face twisted in a mix of sorrow and anger. Some said they heard her mournful cries echoing through the halls, chilling them to their bones. They tried to leave, but the temple seemed to twist and turn, trapping them in its malevolent embrace. Each account, though different in its details, shared one chilling similarity: the feeling of being watched by an otherworldly presence, an entity consumed by anguish and a thirst for retribution. These were not just tales spun to scare the faint-hearted. These were experiences etched into the very souls of those who dared to cross paths with the tormented spirit. And here comes the twist that'll send shivers down your spine. As I delve deeper into these encounters, seeking the truth behind the woman in white's appearances, I stumbled upon a revelation that turned everything upside down. The witnesses didn't just happen upon her by chance. They were drawn to the temple by a force beyond their comprehension. Yes, you heard that right. The woman in white wasn't just a random haunting. She was a lure, a siren's call beckoning unsuspecting souls to partake in her eternal suffering. Those who claimed to have seen her weren't mere witnesses. They were chosen, selected to become part of her spectral entourage, trapped in her cycle of vengeance and despair. And as I realized this horrifying truth, a chill crept up my spine. What if my curiosity had led me here not as an observer, but as the next unfortunate soul to be ensnared in her haunting quest for companionship and misery? The thought sent a shudder through me as I grappled with the horrifying possibility that I might not leave this place the same way I entered, a victim of the woman in white's unending torment. As I delved deeper into the mystery surrounding the cursed temple and the haunting presence of the woman in white, I uncovered fragments of a dark past woven into the very fabric of the place. It wasn't just about a vengeful spirit seeking retribution. It was a tale of betrayal and a cycle of anguish that refused to be forgotten. Legend spoke of a forbidden love between the priestess, Okiku, and a samurai from a rival clan. Their love blossomed in secrecy, hidden from prying eyes. But when their affair was discovered, their worlds crumbled. The samurai, bound by duty and honor, chose to abandon Okiku, leaving her heartbroken and alone. Her sorrow and rage tainted the temple, creating a dark energy that attracted malevolent forces, the Oni. These demonic beings fed on the misery and despair that permeated the place, drawn by the tormented spirit of the priestess. It was a cycle of anguish that perpetuated itself, trapping any soul unfortunate enough to stumble upon the haunted grounds. But as I pieced together the fragments of this tragic tale, I unearthed a revelation that sent a shiver down my spine. The curse wasn't just a product of Oyuki's pain and the Oni's malevolence. It was a sinister pact, an unholy alliance forged in desperation. The woman in white wasn't merely a victim seeking revenge. She was a pawn in a larger scheme orchestrated by the Oni. They used her anguish to lure unsuspecting souls into their realm, feeding off the fear and despair of those ensnared within the temple's walls. Each encounter, each chilling sighting of the tormented spirit was orchestrated by the Oni, using Oyuki's sorrow as bait. And here comes the bone-chilling twist that'll haunt your thoughts long after. As I tried to escape the temple's grasp, I realized the horrifying truth. I wasn't just an observer in this twisted play. I was a catalyst unwittingly drawn into the Oni's malevolent game, destined to become a pawn in their eternal cycle of torment and manipulation. The realization hit me like a sledgehammer, a sickening revelation that shattered any hope of escape. The encounters with the woman in white weren't chance meetings. They were meticulously staged performances orchestrated by the Oni, and I, in my quest for understanding, had unwittingly become their next victim. As I struggled against invisible bonds, feeling their icy grip tightening around me, I knew that leaving the temple wouldn't be an option. I was trapped, a mere plaything in the hands of malevolent entities, doomed to relive the horrors within those cursed walls for all eternity. And as the darkness swallowed me whole, I could only hope that my story served as a warning to those who dared to tread upon the path of the tormented souls seeking solace in the misery of others.